Good morning. It is April 1st, 2020. I thought what I would share with everyone this morning is a reading from the Synaxarion of the Lenten, Triodian, and Pentecostarian. April 1st is the feast day of St. Mary of Egypt. Now, kind of the interesting thing with some of our commemorations during Great Lent is that they have a fixed date. So like in this instance, April 1st being the fixed date for St. Mary of Egypt. But what we more commonly experience is that the fifth Sunday of Great Lent is commemorated as St. Mary of Egypt. So that's when we usually hear about her. Now, we've had this interesting occurrence this year because, of course, the dates of the Sundays in Great Lent vary year to year based on the date of Pascha. But this year, this coming Sunday will be the fifth Sunday of Great Lent. So we can read this story today and actually have it in mind as we approach Sunday's liturgy. It's one of the difficulties that I'm having with our celebration of St. Mary of Egypt is part of how it is normally celebrated in parishes is during this fifth week of Great Lent. One of the weekday services is you do the entire canon of St. Andrew of Crete, which is the canon we do during the various weeknights the first week of Great Lent. But we offer them all together as one service. And as a part of that service, we read the life of St. Mary of Egypt. And our plan this year originally was to offer that service. And part of the reasoning is that in our new church building and its new iconography, we have an icon of St. Mary of Egypt. So it was going to be this very pointed thing of being able to offer that service, read the life of St. Mary of Egypt, and be able to refer to the icon on the wall. For our parishioners, for them to recall, we have on that north wall in the church women saints of the church. And the one closest to the front is St. Mary of Egypt. So the next time, whenever that is, God willing, that you're in church, you can look over there and see that. So with that in mind, I would like to read this story about the life of St. Mary of Egypt for all of you. The recorder of the life of this wonderful saint is Saint Sophronius, Patriarch of Jerusalem. A hero monk, the elder Zosima had gone off at one time during the Great Fast on a 20 days walk into the wilderness across the Jordan. He suddenly caught sight of a human being with a withered and naked body and with hair as white as snow, who fled in its nakedness from Zosima's sight. The elder ran a long way until this figure stopped at a stream and called, "Father Zosima, forgive me for the Lord's sake. I cannot turn around to you, for I am a naked woman." Then Zosima threw her his outer cloak, and she wrapped herself in it and turned around to him. The elder was amazed at hearing his name from the lips of this unknown woman. After considerable pressure on his part, she told him the story of her life. She had been born in Egypt and had lived as a prostitute in Alexandria from the age of 12, spending 17 years in this way of life. Urged by the lustful fire of the flesh, she one day boarded a ship that was sailing for Jerusalem. Arriving at the holy city, she attempted to go into one of the churches to venerate the precious cross, but some unseen power prevented her from entering. In great fear, she turned to an icon of the Mother of God that was in the entrance and begged her to let her go in and venerate the cross. Confessing her sin and impurity and promising that she would then go wherever the most pure one led her. She was then allowed to enter the church. After venerating the cross, she went out again to the entrance and, standing in front of the icon, thanked the Mother of God. Then she heard a voice saying, "If you cross the Jordan, you will find true peace." She immediately bought 3 loaves of bread and set off for the Jordan, arriving there the same evening. She received Holy Communion the following morning in the monastery of St. John the Baptist. And then crossing the river, she spent the next 48 years in the wilderness, in the greatest torments, in terror, in struggles, with passionate thoughts like gigantic beasts, feeding only on plants. Later, when she was standing in prayer, Zosima saw her lifted up in the air. She begged him to bring her Holy Communion the next year on the bank of the Jordan, and she would come to receive it. The following year, Zosima came with the holy gifts to the bank of the Jordan in the evening and stood in amazement as he saw her cross the river. He saw her coming in the moonlight and, arriving on the further bank, make the sign of the cross over the river. She then walked across it as though it were dry land. When she had received Holy Communion, she begged him to come again the following year to the same stream by which they had first met. The next year, Zosima went and found her dead body there on that spot. Above her head, in the sand was written, Abba Zosima, bury in this place the body of the humble Mary. Give dust to dust. I passed away on April 1st, on the very night of Christ's Passion, after communion of the divine mysteries. For the first time, Zosima learned her name and also the awe-inspiring marvel that she had arrived at that stream the previous year on the night of the same day on which she had received Holy Communion, a place that he had taken 20 days to reach. And thus Zosima buried the body of the wonderful saint, Mary of Egypt. When he returned to the monastery, he recounted the whole story of her life and the wonders to which he had been an eyewitness. Thus the Lord glorifies repentant sinners. She entered into rest in about the year 530. St. Mary is remembered today as we reach the end of the Great Fast, to arouse the energy of the slothful and to urge sinners to repentance, imitating her example. She is also commemorated on April 1st. The righteous Zosima, who buried St. Mary, is commemorated on April 4th. So, that is what I have to share today. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the life of St. Mary of Egypt. That telling is actually a briefer version. I think there are online versions that have a fuller account and more detail, but that at least gives you an idea in a fairly concise form who St. Mary of Egypt is and why we remember her in the life of the church. So I commend that to you today. God bless. We'll be in touch.